my friends, this is Alien Contactee Linol Anderson here with you guys with a brand new YouTube BitChute video. And in today's video, we're going to be touching on a topic that, well, this is a little bit of a warning for people, a trigger warning, okay, disclaimer. It will cause cognitive dissonance in those who are still holding on to their religious matrix programming. But I still would encourage those of you who are holding on to that program to keep watching, because this video is going to reveal truths to you. And no matter how uncomfortable we get, we need to explore these things, okay? We're going to be getting into old Jesus Christ. Who was he, this biblical character? Who was he truly? Who was his true identity? We're going to be getting into, what was he? Is there evidence that possibly he was a reptilian Anunnaki hybrid being? Oh, I got a video from the leader of the Knights Templar claiming that very much is the case. Okay, so we're going to be observing that, getting into who he truly was, and looking at even the Shroud of Turin to see if that's legitimate, because that's back in the news, or if we can debunk that. We're going to be going through all that and more in today's video. So let's just get right into it. I'm just going to encourage you guys to hit that subscribe button. And as I say, subscribe to survive. And also smash the like button. Helps me out with algorithms. And let's just jump right into it. So yeah, I want to start today's video off with a clip from the Knights Templar. That's right. This guy is the very top head honcho there. And, you know, that's a Masonic order. You know, they've been around a long time, right? And he makes some big arguments here, or some big claims, I should say. So let's just take a look, see what he says.
Yeah, my name's Timothy Hogan. I'm currently the Grand Master of the Knights Templar.
And there are about 3 million people with that, 3 million Knights Templars
Worldwide, yeah.
Worldwide, yeah.
Right.
What was the situation like then between the Templar and the Roman Catholic Church?
Well, it was not great.
Yeah.
And it was understood that things would be turned over to the Pope, including information and that type of thing. And but they weren't turning everything over. And when the Roman Church figured that out, then all of a sudden the Templar Order became a threat.
Time to burn.
The order was created really as a means to go in and all that, and to help secure
the artifacts
and get them out of there. Well, we know that there were several arks. I mean, most people think of the Ark of the Covenant, but we know there were several. There could have been hundreds of them. We have in our possession 6 of them right now that we had secured, mostly in areas between Jerusalem and Egypt, and then we brought them over here to the Americas at a very early stage.
Pre-Columbus.
Yeah.
You were traveling to the Americas.
Correct, yeah.
So you have the bones of Jesus Christ, Mary Magdalene, John the Baptist,
right,
and their combined children.
Correct.
And how many children are there?
Well, there's 4.
Okay.
Total. Our hope is to release this stuff. They can undergo DNA testing. There's indication that the figure, who was Mary Magdalene, had been married and had children with both John the Baptist and with Jesus. And these bones were pointing to that idea, agreeing with that idea.
So describe the bones. Are there any odd features? Are there, what are the how do you describe them?
They do have some odd features to them, including the skulls have somewhat conical types of heads, and which has indicated to some degree that they could be, by some interpretations, somewhat extraterrestrial in origin.
There you have it, my friends. Very interesting, eh? He's talking about the covenant there, which I spoke about not too long ago. And I did say how there was going to be a false Ark of the Covenant come up, and it's going to fulfill some end-time prophecies. Well, he says they got 6 of them. Oh, that's crazy. We'll talk about that another day, though. But what I want to focus on is what he said at the end. he's talking about Jesus. They got the remains of Jesus, and he said something was odd about the skulls. And, you know, the first thing that I thought of was, you know, bigger skulls, elongated skulls, because it's not human, it's extraterrestrial. And right when he said that, I was like, oh, damn. Well, this isn't entirely impossible, because throughout history, there has been a lot of elongated skulls found, okay? And even talks of, you know, like pharaohs and whatnot and certain bloodlines having this. Take a look at this picture. There you go. I'm sure you recognize old Lord Jacob Rothschild there. We know that is a reptilian bloodline. It said there Pleiadian, and this is true. This bloodline is a combination of reptilian and Pleiadian Anunnaki. They mix the genetics, okay, and these reptilian beings, sometimes Pleiadian beings, like to inhabit these human bodies that have the combined genetics. But it is a Nephilim bloodline, and as you see there, Jacob Rothschild, right? But it goes back. These bloodlines go back thousands of years. So of course you saw Pharaoh Akhenaten there. Okay, and Queen Nefertiti. Okay, like I said, it's an ancient bloodline. These reptilian bloodlines, Nephilim bloodlines, whatever you want to call them. And yes, we're going to be exploring Jesus's connection to these bloodlines, okay? But there's one thing I gotta say, you know, and I know a lot of people are gonna be saying, well, you know, the Knights Templar, they're liars, they're this and that, they're gonna deceive people, and hey, I don't trust them 100% either, and I do believe he was giving a little bit of deception there, okay? And the deception I do believe he was saying was that they have Jesus's remains, okay? Because end of the day, and I know a lot of people aren't going to like hearing this, but, and again, this is my personal opinion based off the downloads I've received of information and years of research, but I do not believe that Jesus himself was an actual person, okay? Jesus himself and the biblical accounts. Now, hold on, before you get too worked up, I do believe he was based on a real person, and I think it's a combination of actually two different Jesuses. There's one who was a good guy, who was standing up to the powers that be and coming to teach love and all that great stuff, and then there was another one based off a real person and their mythology, okay? And that one was the Antichrist, a very negative being, and we're going to get into who that was, okay, in today's video. But one thing's for sure, their name was not Jesus, okay? I want to show you guys a quick little video from old Billy Carson. I don't agree with him on everything, let's make that very clear, but this thing he has spot on. So let's take a look at what the name Jesus actually means. Take a look.
Jesus is not the real name. That's a fabricated name. That name is fake. More of a modern name. Matter of fact, the J didn't even exist until more recently. So it was really Asus is what they were calling out. Asus at the time that they were putting this canonized text together, this book together, this curated remix of information. And Asus is Hail Zeus. That's what they're saying in ancient tongue. Hail Zeus. So every time you call on the name of Jesus, when you call on the name of Jesus, you are actually saying Hail Zeus. You're not calling on, you know, the divine God King that you think you're calling on, the son of, you know, the creator of the universe. You're calling on Zeus, you know, an ancient character from Greece that actually is not a myth. Zeus is actually one of the original Sumerian pantheon. The names from the original pantheon of Sumeria got renamed to the Greek. That's how they do it. You know, the Greek always come in and they rename everybody. They renamed Thoth to Hermes.
There you go, my friends. That's right. So it couldn't have been Jesus. Letter J wasn't even around back then, right? And Jesus actually comes from Isis. That's right. I-E, and according to the original translations, was hail, and then Sos was Jesus. And that's what it means. Hail Zeus. Okay? So it goes back to Greek times. Hail Zeus. So the Bible, for the most part, it's a lot of mythology mixed in with real events. So who was this being, going back to Zeus, Greek times, hail Zeus? Well, who could have this been referring to? Who could have he really been? Well, what if I were to tell you that it was none other than Apollo? Okay? Yeah, Zeus's son, Apollo. I've been telling you guys a lot in my videos, if you've been watching, you know, it's these same beings reincarnating over and over again in different cycles, taking bodies, and it goes all the way back to the Sumerians with Enki, then Babylonian Tamzeus, and then Egyptian, you had the Horus, and then I believe Akhenaten was one of them, you know, the big head. But then the Greek times, Apollo, right? And then it comes up to Roman times, all this stuff. So I do believe it's the same being, different names. Well, one of the incarnations, which Jesus was based off, and I'm going to show you evidence right now, was Apollonius of Tyana, okay? And I got a couple videos to show you on who he was, but I want to make it clear, Apollonius of Tyana was the reincarnation of this Apollo. And the name Apollonius of Tyana actually means follower of Apollo. And a lot of the things that happened when Apollonius of Tyana was born actually happened in the Apollo story, okay? And we're going to be getting into how he is actually the Antichrist. But before I show you those videos showing who this Apollonius of Tyana is, I just want to do a quick shout out to our sponsors, so take a look. Hello friends, sorry for the quick interruption. I just wanted to give a quick shout out to our sponsors down at OWELI. They just released a brand new product, one of their best ones yet, and that is OWELI Super Greens. Alright, this is an all-in-one supplement that will cover many of your needs, okay? It's good for detox. It's good for boosting the immune system. It'll give you energy, and it'll also heal your gut, okay? It's loaded with amazing ingredients, and I'm just going to list a few, but there's tons, and that's why I say this is such a good supplement, because it'll save you money in the long run, because you won't have to buy all these separate things. It's got it all. We're talking wheatgrass, barley grass, spirulina, which is amazing for detox. It's got green tea, which is also good for detox. It's got ashwagandha. That is just a few. Oh, and turmeric as well, which is another amazing thing for detox. But it's got much more that I didn't even mention, okay? So this is the ultimate. So the link is down below to get this product, and I spoke to the owner at OWELI, and I said, hey, I got to get my followers a discount. It's about time. So he gave me the code, RESOLVE777. That's going to get you 15% off and free shipping in the United States. Okay? So the link is down below. Now back to that footage.
The wanderer and charismatic sage Apollonius of Tyana was a contemporary of Jesus. He was said to work miracles too, by healing the sick, raising the dead, and exorcising demons. Some even claim that he was the real Jesus, because the stories of their works are so similar. He spent his life traveling in Greece, Italy, Spain, Africa, and Asia Minor. He also journeyed into India and studied under Brahmins as well as other religious leaders. At the instance of Empress Julia Domna, wife of Septimius Severus, Philostratus composed a biography of Apollonius known as Vita Apollonii, which was written between 170 and 247 AD. He was a representative of Neo-Pythagoreanism. Sometimes he is exalted as being greater than Pythagoras himself. In Arabic texts, he appears as Belinus, frequently associated with alchemical writings and considered one of the great sages and masters of esoteric knowledge.
I, Apollonius, was born according to the Christian calendar on the 16th day of February AD 2 of wealthy parents. I was educated until my 26th year in general philosophy and literature. When I served for 6 years under Eusenes of Theclaria, learning the Pythagorean philosophy. After acquiring all I could learn from the teachings of that philosopher, I went to Antioch, and from there to Jerusalem. My entrance to that city was hailed, as it has been alleged the entrance of Jesus of Nazareth was hailed, with hosannas and songs of praise to one who came in the name of the Lord. This took place when I was 33 years of age.
And there you have it, my friends. So I truly believe that this is who Jesus was truly based off, the negative being. That's right. And we're going to get into why he was negative. Besides the fact that he's literally Apollo, which we know in the Bible talks about, Apollyon, same guy, right? Coming back at the end with the destruction and all that, the bottomless pit. Oh, yeah. Lucifer, it's all the same being, my friends. They play a lot of tricks on us. But yes, I truly believe that's who Jesus is based off, because at the end of the day, there is actual physical evidence that Apollonius of Tyana was an actual person. They even had him on coins. And as you could see, looked a lot like what Jesus looks like, or what they want us to believe Jesus looks like, right? And we're going to be talking about the Shroud of Turin and all that, and that image as well a little bit later. But pretty much what it comes down to is a lot of the claims that people say, oh, there's evidence Jesus existed, they've been debunked. And actually the researcher Archaix, Jason Brashears from Archaix, he just did a really good 2-hour plus presentation proving pretty much with historical facts. He's a historian, and he put together some pretty amazing facts that show that Jesus wasn't a historical person. So I'll leave a link to that down below in the description box if you guys want to get into the facts and the evidence that Jesus wasn't a historical physical person. And he does talk about Apollonius and Tyana in that video as well, so I'll leave that down below. But that's why I believe that this Apollonius was who he was based on. And I want to read a quote to you guys from Manly P. Hall's book, The Secret Teaching of All Ages. All right, this was written back in, what was it, 1927, I believe, or somewhere around there, a long time ago, okay? And this man was brilliant, one of the best researchers of our time, really. And he was talking about this section about the crucifixion and crosses and whatnot, and where that story could have originated from. And of course, it goes back to Apollonius of Tyana, because you guys got to realize this whole crucifixion story, it is an ancient pagan story that's been added to the Bible. It actually goes beyond Apollonius of Tyana. There's been many crucified saviors in pagan ancient religions, stories, and stuff like that, mythologies going back thousands of years, okay? But Apollonius of Tyana was another one of them, and let's take a look and see what old Manly had to say. He says, certain of the pagan mysteries included in the ceremony of initiation, the crucifixion of the candidate upon a cross, or the laying of his body upon a cruciform altar. It has been claimed that Apollonius of Tyana, and then in brackets it says the Antichrist. That's right, Manly P. Hall, back in the 1920s, knew that he was the Antichrist and added it in there. Right? So he says the Antichrist was initiated into the Archaeum of Egypt in the Great Pyramid, where he hung upon a cross until unconscious and was then laid in the tomb, in brackets, the coffer. for 3 days. While his body was unconscious, his soul was thought to pass into the realms of the immortals, the place of death. After it had vanquished death by recognizing that life is eternal, it returned again to the body, which then rose from the coffer, after which he was hailed as a brother by the priests, who believed that he had returned from the land of the dead. This concept was in substance the teaching of the mysteries. Very interesting, wouldn't you say, my friends? So, the mysteries he speaks about, well, that's because Apollonius of Tyana was, of course, involved with all those secret societies of the time and whatnot. And, even in the Bible, they're trying to tell you that as well. It straight out tells you that Jesus was in the mystery schools himself. Jesus really was one of the original Freemasons. It wasn't called Freemasons back then. It was called something else, which I'm going to show you in a couple more clips. But come on, the whole story. He died when he was 33. Yeah, died. There's actually a lot of evidence he never even actually crucified. Again, that's just an ancient pagan mythology they added in there. But in that pagan myth, they chose 33. Well, guess what? 33 degrees of Freemasonry. A lot of, let's just put it this way, the Bible was put together by these secret societies and their AI systems, okay? And they give humans, the sheep, the exoteric meanings, and unfortunately people can't figure out the mythologies and the deeper spiritual meanings, and then the secret societies have the esoteric, deeper spiritual hidden knowledge. And that's why you go to a Freemason museum or something like that, you'll always see Christian stuff all over the place and other religious stuff, because they're the ones who invented it and have used that to control humanity, and they know the deeper knowledge. Well, Jesus, here's some interesting things about him that show that he belonged to these same mysteries, but really, of course, it was Apollonius of Tyana. But they're still telling you, take a look.
One they called Jesus was a Mason. The issue people are having with that secret is that they don't see in the Bible that it explicitly states that Jesus was a Mason. That's because that order wasn't referred to as Masonry in that book at that time. The Masons are referred to as the Essenes, who were led by a being called the teacher or the messenger of righteousness, and that translates from Hebrew as Malaika Sadiq, which becomes Melchizedek. In the biblical scriptures, you will find that Jesus was raised up in that same order. That's Hebrews 7:17. For he testifieth, thou art a priest forever after the order of Melchizedek. And this being who is called Jesus also took an oath to be a part of that order. Hebrews 7:20. And insomuch as not without an oath he was made priest. There were sacred brotherhoods active in that time, both BC and AD. And stories like the story of Lazarus were alluding to those brotherhoods. Jesus initiated Lazarus into the order. In other words, Lazarus was pulled out of death by Jesus. This was a Masonic ritual. This was not a literal story. People are constantly being raised from the dead and initiated into the order of the truth, the life, and the way, the head, the heart, and the hara, the faith, the hope, and the charity. 1, 2, 3. As in the 3 levels from the lower room to the upper room. Tear down my body, and in 3 days I will rise it again. This is referring to the 3 degrees of Masonry. John 3:3. You must be born again. Why do you think it was placed in John 3:3? Jesus was of the mystic orders and the mystery schools and was raised from the death.
Alright, so all you believers, especially the ones that don't like Freemasons, people are going to hate me for this one.
But there's another job they're doing in this house that I want to see, because it's one of the most famous jobs in the Bible. Carpentry. We've all been told that when Jesus wasn't overturning tables, he was making them.
Yeah, I think that's the image people have. It's certainly in the movies and the books. We've been studying the terms that are used, and Jesus is called a carpenter in English, but of course it wasn't written in English, written in Greek. Right. But the word actually is tekton, which means sort of artisan or a builder, like a stonemason, which really doesn't fit woodworking as much. Right. So it could be any kind of builder. You notice there's not a lot of wood in a home, right, but more stone. Lots of stone. And most of the examples when Jesus taught, he talks about stones so often.
So it's Jesus the stonemason, not Jesus the
That
carpenter.
really does seem to be the best interpretation of,
Really?
of the original text.
I mean, that's totally different than everything else we've ever been told before.
Yeah, I think the carpenter idea is romantic in a certain way.
Now reference. Jesus was a mason.
There you have it, my friends. That's right. He was a stonemason as well. Imagine that. An architect, a grand architect. Oh, yeah. The capital G, right? So, pretty intense stuff, right, my friends? And, you know, I know a lot of people are going to be saying they're still going to be clinging on to that, you know. Linol, he's real because of the Shroud of Turin. Now I want to get into the Shroud of Turin. Okay, there's something, this piece of cloth that, you know, for a long time it's been debated if it was real or not, and they claim it's the image of Jesus and his face on it or something like that. I'm going to show you the video. But it was debunked a while ago, saying it had to be medieval times, right? And the carbon dating didn't match. But now, in the past few weeks, new scientists have found with a new carbon dating thing that it did date back to the time of Jesus, so it has to be real. So I want to show you this finding, okay? Take a look.
Not that I needed proof he existed, but shocking new research on the Shroud of Turin, the 14-foot cloth many believe Jesus was buried in, has unveiled very intriguing new discoveries. Recent wide-angle X-ray studies have shown details consistent with a death by crucifixion, revealing a man who experienced a tragedy aligning with historical accounts. This advanced technology also provides a more accurate dating method, suggesting the shroud could date back to approximately 2,000 years. Additionally, the imaging indicates that the image on the shroud is not a painting, but results from complex chemical reactions involving linen fibers and human blood. The evidence on the shroud aligns with the wounds described in crucifixion, including scourge marks, nail wounds, and even a crown of thorns. These findings have added new dimensions to this massive debate, so what do you think?
Alright, so that's what they're saying there, okay? They're saying since it dates back to the first century there, that it has to be real, okay? But very interesting note, that dates back at the exact same time of Apollonius of Tyana, as we know, because they were around at the very same time. And, come on, my friends, take a look at an image of Apollonius of Tyana. And then we all know what the Shroud of Turin looks like. It looks very similar, wouldn't you say? And and I'm not even saying that was Apollonius of Tyana's face. I'm not even saying that. I think this whole thing is most likely just a big hoax, probably disinformation being put out by the Roman Catholic Church because they need to get more people in Christianity. We see there's a huge push right now in the mainstream alternative media. We got guys like Elon Musk promoting religion, Russell Brand, Tucker Carlson, Donald Trump, because there's an agenda. They're trying to get people religious again because they need their holy war. They need their Zionist plans to carry out the Armageddon scenario, and they need people to believe, to manifest these realities. And of course, like I said, the holy war that we've spoken about many times. So there's a big push right now. So that's why they have some study that we can never prove come out and say, oh no, it is real, it must be him. But still, that does not make up for what I'm about to show you now, which has other reasons this is all debunkable. So I have another clip to show you. Take a look.
Is the Shroud of Turin really the burial cloth of Jesus, or is it a medieval hoax? Let's dive into the evidence. In 1988, scientists used radiocarbon dating to analyze the shroud. The results? The cloth dates back to between 1260 and 1390 AD. That's over 1,000 years after Jesus lived. Historical records show that the shroud first appeared in France in the 1350s. There's no mention of it before that time. If it was truly from the 1st century, wouldn't there be earlier records? Art historians and scientists have found paint pigments on the shroud, suggesting it was created using medieval artistic techniques. Not exactly the miraculous image some believe. Some argue that bacteria on the shroud could have affected the carbon dating, but this theory isn't widely accepted, and the main evidence still points to a medieval origin. The way the body is wrapped in the shroud doesn't match Jewish burial customs from Jesus' time. They used multiple cloths, not a single large shroud. Forensic experts have also pointed out that the bloodstains on the shroud are too neat to be real. They look more like they were painted on. So, while the Shroud of Turin is a fascinating artifact, the evidence suggests it's a medieval creation, not a relic of Jesus. Science and history reveal the truth.
There you go. So I think that right there, if you use a little bit of common sense and see all the inconsistencies there, and with this whole push with Christianity, what timing to say, oh, it was real, they're trying to get people to believe because they need to keep enslaving humans. And they need, religion is a good way to do that. And they need to bring about all these end-time, self-fulfilling prophecies. That's right. The Bible's predictive programming, and these are all self-fulfilling prophecies being played out by these sneaky reptilian Anunnaki bastards. And end of the day, I do believe that this Jesus that everybody loves and believes in, unfortunately, for the believers, is this deceiving entity who keeps incarnating at the end of every cycle in different bodies in these bloodlines. And I believe that is who this is, and I believe they're about to show up once again. And it will be the Antichrist. Again, and what does everybody, when they hear about the Antichrist, they're like, oh yeah, he's going to come, he's going to deceive the world, people are going to worship him, he's going to be very lovable. And it's just like, can't you see that's what happened with Jesus? Literally, Christianity for the past 2,000 years, Jesus is dominated, and there's been millions and millions of people die in the name of Christianity, horrible torture, suffering, the papal inquisitions. Humanity has been enslaved. Medieval times, Christianity, oh, horrible if you look into that history. I've seen the underground torture chambers where the Catholics would torture people to death, okay? Horrible. Humanity has been enslaved by Jesus, yet people still think he's the great guy and he's going to come back. What do you think's going to happen when he comes back? He is Apollo. He is the Apollyon coming out of the bottomless pit, my friends. You got to realize that. And you got to realize nobody's coming to save you except for yourself. You are the Savior. It's within you. That's one of the good points left in the Bible that Jesus said, was the kingdom of God is within you. Okay? We are here to save ourselves. And once we save ourselves, we can all collectively come together to save the world. But we got to take action. Stop waiting for a Savior who's just the Antichrist. That's what they want. They want you waiting for somebody who never comes. They want you to not be in your own power. But with that being said, I'm going to leave the video on a positive note for believers. And that is, I do believe there was a good person as Jesus was based off. Of course, the name wasn't Jesus. But there does appear that there was also a character that some of these stories were based off, who, again, I think they were probably in these ancient bloodlines as well, possibly Pleiadian, Reptilian, Nephilim as well, somewhere in that cliche. But remember, not all Nephilim or Anunnaki or Reptilian, Pleiadian hybrids, not all of them are bad. Some are good as well, okay, and have realized, hey, we don't like what's going on here. And I do believe they challenged the system at the time, and I do believe some of those stories were based off that good version. So they took whoever that was, I don't know their name, and I know a lot of people, their name was Yeshua, Yahuwah, or whatever, and I understand that, and I have suspicions about that name as well, Yeshua, Because end of the day, Yeshua, I believe, means salvation to Yahweh, and Yahweh is Enlil, pretty much, Zeus Enlil, another fallen being. I don't know, maybe it is, but I've done research in Yeshua. I don't fully trust it. I'm of the mindset that maybe we don't even know who his name was, but they came, and I do believe they were caught up in all that drama. And they were fallen beings, but I do believe they did challenge authority, challenge the system, and I do believe they ended up ascending. They found out love was the answer, they tried to teach it, and I do believe they ascended out of this realm. I do believe they were Pleiadian, and some have said, maybe the name is Sananda. You guys have heard of me talk about Sananda. There's a lot of stuff about Sananda, but even that is just an earth name. But I do believe whoever they were a Pleiadian deity who did fall, but who found their way back and made it out. And they didn't like that. They don't like that they turned on them and that they tried to expose that. So, of course, they took some elements of that story, mixed it in. They mixed it in with that old Apollonius of Tyana. And this ancient deity really went by many names. Horus. It's funny, that Akhenaten had the big head, the big skull there and everything. Well, Akhenaten was oftentimes associated with Horus, that it was the physical incarnation of Horus. And we know Horus is the same deity, and also he was associated because he was sun god pretty much, or he looked up to the sun, that he was associated with Helios from the Greek texts. And of course, Helios, the next incarnation after him, was Apollo. So I think it's multiple beings that this being is possessing or reincarnating, or it's just stories. I don't know. But I do believe it's just a cycle that just keeps on repeating itself. So it's interesting stuff anyways, my friends. Something to be aware of, all right? But that is it for today's video. I hope you guys enjoyed it. I'd like to hear what you guys have to think. Leave a comment down below. And if you enjoyed today's video, you could hit that subscribe button. As I said, subscribe to survive, because I'm coming out with deep in the rabbit hole videos on a weekly basis, my friends. And you can always support me on Patreon as well if you want even more content. I got exclusive content on Patreon. We've got a bunch of different classes, the Ascent to 5D class, health class, occult class. So link to that is down below. Or I got a new function here in my videos. You could leave a super thanks. That's right. If you just look down below where the share button is, then a few buttons over, you could leave a small little tip as a super thanks if you want to help support the channel. It does help me keep going here. Any help would be appreciated, but it is not necessary. Do not feel obligated. Totally optional. But what you should feel obligated to do is leave a comment, because that's what means most to me. I want to hear your guys' feedback. And you don't even have to feel obligated to do that, really, but that's what means most to Lionel. Okay, my friends? So that's it for today's video. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Until next time, Lionel signing off.